Wasabi guys, coming back at you with another video. This time we're going to be talking about something that is quite polarizing in the Magic the Gathering community, and that is the reserve list. People complain it all the time, and honestly, before I get into that though, I want to bring up, I made a video about a week ago about the top 10 most ban-worthy cards in the Commander format. Sure enough, there was a very small percentage of people that took it personally, and they got triggered as hell, and they tried to argue with me. They either insulted me, or what they were arguing with me just honestly didn't make any fucking sense at all. Because again, that's what the internet is. You're going to deal with a very small percentage of people, if you're lucky, that don't know what the hell they're talking about and completely just disagree with you just to disagree. I mean, they're not bringing up any valid points as to why I'm wrong. They just disagree with me. And it's complete bullshit. So just be warned, if you are going to just try to insult me and you're just going to say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, don't be surprised if I don't respond to you or if I remove your comment. And if you keep trying to do this shit, I'm just going to remove you from my channel, just hide you, So I don't do this all the time because, again, the majority of people, this is a very small percentage of people that are actually just assholes. The majority of people are either just indifferent and they don't really feel strongly about it one way or another, but I get a lot of people that like my content and they enjoy watching my videos. So again, I have over 1,100 views on that one video, so let's do the math here. We can guess that around maybe 1,000 people, because some people probably re-watched it, out of 1,000 people, maybe 10 to 20 people actually just didn't like it, or they just hated it. I would take that percentage and run with it and say, hey, I thought I did pretty good. Even though I got a lot of dislikes on that video, still pretty good. When the majority of people don't feel strongly enough to be a complete dick about it, yeah, I think I did pretty good. But regardless, you're going to get people that just don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's almost to the point where they might actually have something seriously wrong with them, where they just don't use logic and reason to form their conclusions. They just fucking jump right into it. I play this game. I play Commander all the fucking time. I play with people who play competitive Commander. Okay, I go to competitive FNMs. Okay, where they put anthologies up on the line there to win. We play competitive. All right, a lot of people. My play group is competitive to the point where if someone's not super competitive, it's kind of a bummer. So yeah, I know what cards are busted. I know what cards do. I know what they do. I understand the interactions. Some people, you can argue for this card or that card, but I thought I made it pretty clear in my video why I think cards are busted on that list. So again, that's what I'm going to try to bring up, because I know I'm going to get hated on for what I'm about to say with the reserve list. It's one of those polarizing topics people always fucking find a reason to complain about. So let me just set the record straight here. I support the reserve list. Okay, if you don't take it personally. I'm not trying to force you into spending a lot of money to buy into Legacy. That's not why I'm doing it. I like the reserve list for one reason and one reason only. It allows us to predict the market. Okay, you don't have this type of predictability all the time. So having it with the reserve list means that you have a bunch of cards, whether it's in your trade binder or, you have it somewhere graded or in a safe. You can depend on a value of a card either maintaining or going up. Some people don't like this. And usually there's two reasons why people hate the reserve list. And quite frankly, both of them are bullshit, and I honestly don't really care. The first reason is they just don't think that these pieces of cardboard should be worth thousands of dollars, like the Power 9. And to that I say, well, come on, it's the game's almost 25 years old. Alright, it's a very popular trading card game. And if they reprint the hell out of it, what collectible value will it have? You have to set a standard. Granted, they could have done a lot better with that standard, but still, give them a break here. They're really the first ones to actually make a very good trading card game, and to nitpick over every little fucking thing, that's just bullshit. And the second reason why they complain about the reserve list is because they say it keeps them out of the game. Oh, I can't play Legacy, or I can't play Vintage, because cards like the Dual Lands, Gaia's Cradles, Transmute Artifacts, a lot of these good cards that are usually what people look for, even like Grim Monolith, They're all on the reserve list. People want to play those. They want to play Legacy. And to that I say, why? Why do you want to play Legacy? First of all, if you're in Legacy, it's because you can afford it, or if you're not, you can't. Honestly, it's that simple, to the point where there's just people, honestly, they just complain all day about the reserve list that, oh, they should have reprinted, X cards. They should have reprinted this or this or this. And they use the argument that Iconic Masters, it should have been the most iconic cards, which, quite frankly, there's a lot of iconic cards that are not on the reserve list that they can reprint. Imperial Seal comes to mind. They could still reprint cards like Mana Crypt. They could still reprint other cards too, like Mana Drain, that are not on the reserve list, that are just as iconic. Honestly, I don't understand why people just continue to just complain about this. Yeah, it is one of the things that if Wizards could go back and change it, they said that they would. But anyway, my personal opinion on it is that I talk to people who have been playing this game for a long time, and I have talked to people who have, they have so many of these cards that are just worth thousands, and if you were to ask them what the total cost of all of their collection is, they would most likely tell you that it is like, damn near millions. Like, we're talking millions there. So to come out and say, oh, we should just reprint these cards and just take away, a lot of the value that they have there, that is very selfish. And I think, there's a lot of old school players that have these cards that they don't want these cards to go down. That's a huge investment. That's a huge investment for them. They may have kids. They may be trying to pay college, or pay for college, pay for school, pay for car insurance, all this crap. So to just come out and say, oh, let's just lower the card prices for my selfish needs because I want to play Legacy, or I think more people should be able to play Legacy. Even that, Wizards are perfectly fine with letting Legacy die as a format. I hope you guys understand that. Legacy is going to die. It's not an if, it's a when. And Modern's going to kind of take its spot, I guess, when you talk about people wanting reprints and over again. They can reprint every card in Modern. They can't reprint every card in Legacy. So naturally, people are going to be pushed out. They're not going to be allowed to enter the format because it's going to become too expensive, and quite frankly, it's not affordable or worth it for some people to spend that much money on one deck, which that's perfectly understandable. However, you have the people that just, I don't know what goes through their mind. They think that it's possible to do this in the first place. They always justify, oh, there's cards like Narwhals, on the reserve list, and they automatically use this to justify why they need to get rid of it. Like, look at all the stupid cards on the reserve list. Yeah, there's a lot of stupid cards on the reserve list, but you understand the reason why they are on there? It's because they set a certain set time, like before Mercadian Masks. That's like the majority of a lot of the cards that are on the reserve list are from there. All of them are. All of the ones that are on the reserve list happen to be from sets that are before Mercadian Masks. That's the rule that they set up. Now they've made exceptions, like, oh, if it's been printed as like a Judge's promo, then it can be reprinted. But cards that obviously, there's so many fucking complicated rules when it comes to it, involving the white borders here and there. But when it comes down to it, a lot of these cards are older, and it's the reason why they're on there is because they're from older sets. It's not because, oh, they just, they need to be reprinted, or they're cheap, or it's not because of that. It's because the actual sets. All right. And another reason why, honestly, you shouldn't be begging for all these reprints and just to get rid of the reserve list is because how the hell are they going to do that without just completely wrecking the value? The EV of each box would be insanely high, wrecking the value of really the whole game, to be honest, because there's no line you won't be able to cross after that. Oh, so let's just reprint Black Lotus. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that to realistically lower the value of Vintage, or to allow people to play paper Vintage, which I honestly don't understand why you would want to do that in the first place. Good luck finding a play group. Okay, you'd have to go on MTGO to play like everybody else who wants to play Vintage, because you're not going to find enough people in real life who play paper Vintage who are willing to put something like a Black Lotus in sleeves and shuffle. Good luck. Even double sleeved. I mean, that's risky. But again, when we talk about the EV of boxes and the overall set, you have to consider the fact that how many would you have to reprint to make it worth it, to help people enter Vintage or Legacy? How many cards on the reserve list would you have to reprint? Because we're talking, you would have to make multiple of these sets in order to try to make it to where the EV of the box is like under thousands of dollars, like within hundreds. We're talking just hundreds of dollars. Like, we haven't gotten to the point where we're accepting the fact that these boxes would be worth like under 1,000. We're not even there yet. We're talking thousands of dollars a box if you include even like a couple reserve list cards that people have been begging for. Okay, let's just reprint Gaia's Cradle. Let's just reprint let's just reprint Black Lotus. Let's just reprint all the Moxes, Ancestral Recall, all these good, format staples that are on the reserve list. Let's just reprint all of them. That makes no sense. You're going to just ruin the value of this game, man. You're just going to wreck it. And it makes no sense at all. I understand you want to play paper Vintage, or you want to play Legacy. I get it. But if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. I don't know what to tell you. Wizards of the Coast are not going to ruin the value of these cards just for the portion of people that want to play Legacy. I'm sorry. They're not going to do it. It makes no sense from an economic standpoint. Why in the world they would actually consider doing anything like this? It puzzles me. If you want to play Vintage and Legacy so bad, spend like, maybe a few $100s to make a good Legacy deck, because that's how much cheaper it is on MTGO, and you probably won't have to spend too much more to make a good Vintage deck, because Power 9 is actually affordable online. But some people just don't know this. They don't understand this. And you get some complaints in Commander too, because you have a lot of reserve list cards playable in Commander. It's also an Eternal format, So you have that to deal with. And also, you just have the people who are new to the game that feel like everything should be handed to them, or they shouldn't have to work too hard to earn something. So naturally that comes to any discussion about economics as well. Like, oh, I can't afford this. Make it affordable for me. They're not going to do it. Okay? I don't care if they ever do it. Because the people that are begging for this, they're just cheapskates, and they don't care about the value of the game long term. So do I want more people to be able to play this game? Yeah. Within reason, though. There's multiple different formats. You don't have to play Legacy. Just because you want to play a super competitive format, it is super competitive, but to be honest, is it really that enjoyable? Do you want to enter in a format that is already so many people complaining about the fact that everybody talks about the joke, The joke is that, oh, you mulligan to get to Force of Will or you lose, because it's that format where the budget decks pretty much dominate with turn 1 wins, and the fair decks also dominate because they have Force of Wills, they have all these awesome spells, super expensive cards, just overall just dominating with those decks as well. And then you have, the combo decks, the combo out win within the first 2 turns, and they gut shot you for the win or some bullshit like that, and then, that's it. So Legacy is not fun to watch. Unless it's your first few times watching it, I could see maybe you being impressed with it and maybe enough to want to play it, but after a while it gets old. It doesn't, there's no creativity to the format, not unlike the other ones. It's a lot easier to get frustrated because of all the, the early wins, and you have to play Force of Will. And when it's a format where you have to have a 0 mana counterspell or you're most likely not going to win, that's bullshit. And why would you want to enter that in the first place? It makes no sense. I understand people who may not be new to the game that, they look at this game at an economic standpoint and they just don't think cards should be that expensive, and understand, yeah, it's a card game. There was a point where I was like, okay, these cards shouldn't be worth thousands of dollars. They're just pieces of cardboard. But then again, look at any country's currency and say, oh, this doesn't deserve to be, like $100 because it's just made out of paper. Like, what the fuck? You could use the same argument. Things have value that are assigned to it because of the demand. People just like it. Okay? Money's different, of course. It's not based on demand, but it's based around the actual established value of the card, or the paper money, and the cards are established based on what people assign the value to. It's not because someone decided, oh, we want this to be super expensive so people can't join the format. No, it's because people like the cards. They play with them enough to make them more expensive, because they like the game enough to make the cards. They buy a lot of the cards and make the cards go up in price. That's supply and demand. So yeah. Anyway, guys, probably not the last time I'll talk about the reserve list or even polarizing issues related to it. But if you like this video, check out my other ones, subscribe, support my channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. VoidMage Gamer here, signing off. Have a wonderful day.